Alright guys, I want to show you this way on Odyssey of getting some good weapon schematics, manufacturing instructions, and also making a ton of money. One of the downsides to Odyssey so far, at least, while I'm very much enjoying playing Odyssey, the on-foot stuff's a whole lot of fun. The missions don't pay out a lot of money, and even if you're looting a bunch of stuff, you don't make a ton of money. But this is a way to make a ton of money, and I want to show you this. This is Irregular Markers. Now, there's some key aspects to it. There's some key ways to find the right irregular markers. So far, I've found at least 3 different types of irregular markers. One just has some containers with some commodities in it, or maybe some manufacturing materials. But these are Horizon's manufacturing materials, not Odyssey manufacturing materials. The other 2 have these containers in them, okay? And this is the key part right here. What you're looking for is irregular markers with these containers. This one has 2 containers back to back. The other setup of the irregular markers I found has 3 containers. But I actually prefer this one over the one with 3, and I'm going to tell you why. The reason is right over here to the right. Whenever I decide to look over there. Hey, there we go. There's a crash skimmer right here, okay? And that crash skimmer has a data download port on it. Now, the key to finding these irregular markers, okay? Now, before I say that, I'm going to give credit where credit is due here. Hawks Gaming turned me on to this method. He has a good rundown of how to do this, farming materials for Odyssey, that's really good. But there's one key aspect I don't remember him mentioning in there, and I ended up reading in several places on forums and things. I'm in HIP 98723 as of the recording of this, which was on June 15th, 2021. The system doesn't matter. Now, I know it's always nice to know the right systems. It's easier to go there. But what I'm telling you guys is, from what I found, the system doesn't matter. What does matter is what's going on in the system. Okay? In my experience, the system type, government type, whatever, even that doesn't matter that much. What you are looking for is a system that has a war going on. So what you can see is, look at all of these. These are icons of, basically these are telling you that stations or settlements on the surface are owned by minor factions who are engaged in a war. That's the key to finding the correct irregular markers here. This planet happens to be a good one. That skimmer, though, this 2 containers and a crash skimmer, this is, in my opinion, the best one to do. Hawks Gaming found the one with 3, and the reason I like this one is because of this data port here. Okay, this data port, usually it would either have 1 or 2 downloads available in it. Every time I came here, it was either 1 or 2. Now, when I recorded it, of course, it didn't show any manufacturing instructions. But in the around 7 times I ran through this, I got 7 manufacturing instructions from this data port. I also got ballistics data, as you see here now, settlement defense plans, operational manual, patrol routes, and blacklist data, all of which are useful for either upgrade recipes or engineering recipes. So you're getting good data from here, but key, manufacturing instructions, because manufacturing instructions are used in every upgrade you do in Odyssey, whether it's suits or weapons. You have to have manufacturing instructions. Now, on the back side of the skimmer, as you can see, the side that's actually facing the container, so maybe I should call it the front side, I don't know. You'll cut open this maintenance panel and you get some assets. These are also used in the upgrades or in crafting engineering recipes, so they're good too. That's certainly not the reason I come here, but in the times I was running it, I found optical fibers, electrical fuses, and microelectrodes in there. All good stuff, all used in recipes, so that's not bad either. While you're there waiting for the data to download, just go ahead and grab them. The key, what you really want, especially if you're going to make money, besides the manufacturing instructions, what we're coming for is inside these containers. So you cut them open, pop them open with your energy cell, and then we're looking for these containers. Inside of here are 3 containers like this that are not locked. And inside those containers, you're going to find the key elements that we're coming here for. Now, one of those is weapon schematics, as you can see right there. That's going to be used for your weapons upgrades. That's really important. So that's one of the most important things we're coming here for, that and manufacturing instructions. But what else you saw me getting in there is some illegal goods, or some prohibited goods as the game calls it. Now, on the back side of these containers is a locked container just out in the open. You don't have any way to get the code for this, so you need to bring some e-breaches. Can only pick up e-breaches at a station that's controlled by an anarchy minor faction. So when you go to sell these prohibited goods at the same station, pick up some e-breaches, bring them back. Each e-breach costs 2,500 credits. It's not cheap, but the least valuable of all these prohibited goods is push, that you're seeing me look at right now, and it's worth 25,000. And in a single run, you might get 15 canisters of push. The less push you get, usually the more you get of the other stuff, which is actually more valuable. But what I'm saying is, buy the e-breaches. Do this, because inside you have the chance to get 6 items, okay? Even if you only got 1 and it was only push, it would be worth using the e-breach on. So pick up your e-breaches for this. Inside of these, besides the weapon schematics, which is what we're really interested in, you're also going to find push, hush, and Lazarus, which are all drugs within the game, and biochemical agents and synthetic pathogens. When you fill up, just come back to your ship. This is a threat level 1 irregular marker. And in all the times I ran this, no one ever came to attack me. So I just parked my ship right next to it, and I would just run back to my ship, offload. You actually don't need to fill up from that energy port, because when you go back to offload on your ship, it will automatically fill you up. But I'm just going through cutting these containers open and then looting them. And you find so many prohibited goods, weapon schematics, and then those manufacturing instructions from that data port. This is one of the best places to go for Odyssey if you're looking to do upgrades, or if you're looking to make a bunch of money. Now, the cool thing about this, in Odyssey, you can't do this on settlements, but with these irregular markers, points of interest on planets, you can re-log. So what you're going to see now is I dump everything into my ship, I exit out to the main menu, I log right back in, and do the whole thing over again. And because this was a threat level 1, I was never attacked, I didn't have to worry about fighting anybody. But even at some of the higher threat levels, you don't seem to get attacked every time. Probably the first time you show up, you're going to get attacked, and then every so often you might. So once you re-log in, and I just wanted to show you guys that this actually works with some stuttery video there. When you log back in, all of this is good to go again. It's so fast. You can go through, numerous runs. You could probably fit 10 or more runs of this in an hour, and you can make upwards of $25 million in that time, which is really good for on foot. That's like, compared to running missions on foot, it's not even a comparison. Okay, so I want to show you guys where this is happening as I'm here in my ship. Pull up the galaxy map real quick. Now I happen to be in HIP 98723. Now, where exactly I am, I don't think is important to be able to do this. I've seen this done in a number of different systems, both on other people's videos and playing on my own. So I don't think the particular system is all that important. So, you don't have to go rushing over to HIP 98723. What I have found seems to be important, at least in my own experience, is the fact that this system is in war. When there's war, you seem to get these irregular markers, and that's what we're looking for to be able to do this. If I go over to my navigation panel here, you can see right there, irregular markers, threat 1. This is where we're at, and I got this kind of a layout which has 2 large, what look like storage containers, basically. 1 locked container, but it also has, just out of view over there to the right, you guys will have seen already in the video, a crashed skimmer. So now what I'm going to do, the key part here to be able to kind of take advantage of this, if all you want is, you know, weapon schematics, manufacturing instructions, and some of the other data that comes from this, you know, you can basically leave at this point and go do whatever you want. However, the other, you know, side of this, what you can do is make a ton of money from this by selling all of the drugs. The problem is, if I go over to here and we look at our storage of all these goods, these are all illegal or prohibited, so you can't sell them in a regular system. So what we need to do is we need to go to an anarchy system. I have an a system with an anarchy station. I should be clear on this. So this system itself is not an anarchy system. It looks like it's a dictatorship. So, but within this system, there is a station, Aspirin Terminal, which is controlled by a minor faction that has, you know, that's an anarchy faction. So this station will allow you to sell those illegal goods. And importantly, as discussed when we're doing the run itself, it'll allow you to buy those e-breaches. All right, so I'm here in Aspirin Terminal, and I'm coming to the bartender. Now, again, recapping, Aspirin Terminal in the Ipterod system, that's not important. What we're looking for, if you're looking to make money off of those irregular markers, you have to be able to sell all those illegal items. So what you have to find is a station that has a bartender that is in an anarchy or is owned by an anarchy faction. It doesn't have to be in an anarchy system. The whole system doesn't have to be anarchy. But you have to have a station that's controlled by an anarchy minor faction. So then all you have to do is come up to here.
You need to offload.
Sell.
Maybe you need to sell, I can handle it.
And we start to sell these things. In farming, just in that area, I don't remember how many times I went through that run. It's probably like 6 or 7 times. I got 36 biochemical agents, which are worth 125,000 a piece. So just those alone are 4.5 million. The other things, let's see, what else did we get? Hush was another one. I got 22 of that. Lazarus, which is another really expensive one. I got 29 of those. 111 push, which isn't worth nearly as much, but you get a lot more of it. You can see it still works out to make quite a bit of money in the grand scheme of things. And then synthetic pathogens, which I got a ton of for whatever reason. But here's the other thing. You know, while we were doing that, what's, you know, really useful, this is all great for money. What's really useful here is we got 43 weapon schematics. You know, for upgrading our weapons and things, that is huge. The manufacturing instructions, which seem to be relatively hard to come by. They're not impossible. There's places to get them. But in those maybe 6 to 7 runs I did, which took me maybe 45 minutes, I got 7 of those. You know, there were a couple times there were several times actually, I didn't get any manufacturing instructions. But there were at least 2 times where I got 2 manufacturing instructions. Both downloads available on that data port were manufacturing instructions. So that was a really, really good run. And as you can see, just off of that, in about 45 minutes, maybe an hour, $20 million from all of these, you know, illicit goods. So I'll go ahead and sell it. These are regular markers, guys. If you're looking to make money on foot quickly, the irregular markers are the way to do it. And like I said, look for a system that has a war going on. And if you go to a station in that system, that has a war going on, either a war or a civil war, come to one of these stations like I did to Butcher Dock and just check. Check to see what missions they're offering. Go to one of these consoles, one of the terminals, and just check their missions. And what you're looking for are missions that say larceny, procurement. This is where I usually find the larceny ones. The irregular markers that I found, you find those from larceny. So to be in procurement and you'll see larceny. Instead of theft, it'll say larceny. And even if you can find one that says obtain or retrieve or whatever, Lazarus, Hush, or Push, those are the 3 drugs in this part of the game. Those 3, that's going to guarantee you pretty much, as far as I can tell, that you're going to have those containers. And what you're looking for is an irregular marker with those containers. Now, in systems that were not in war, I've gone around to planets and found irregular markers, but they ended up just having canisters of commodities or manufacturing materials. And it's just a cluster of canisters sitting there on the ground, sometimes guarded by skimmers. That doesn't do you any good. What you're looking for is irregular markers that have those containers. If you're looking to make money on foot, which is kind of fun, and if you're looking to get a lot of weapon schematics, and even maybe if you find the right one, some manufacturing instructions, look for these irregular markers. If you can find an irregular marker that has that 3 container configuration or 2 containers and a crash skimmer, that is golden. Hopefully it's been helpful, guys. Gaming Dad 56 here, and enjoy.